just talk about market improvement, how you kind of built this confidence in Tennessee that I guess a week earlier than most people expected?
Well, first of all, he's a great young man from a great family, and when he came to campus here, the law program really did a great job of showing him everything, because the academics are really important to him. So that was the key, and I think building a relationship with all the coaches on staff, that was something that was really important to him. And he wanted to play in the SEC on a big stage, and came to Tennessee, and just the history here at the wide receiver position was something that, as we talked about, we kind of liked that one.
Zach, hearing some of the other coaches reference the ability today to get 2014 kids on the call and to already be improving relationships with high school coaches around the state. How has that process been, and how difficult sort of fast forward some of those relationships that are going to be necessary?
Yeah, well, I think I don't think we have to fast forward. I think we hit the ground running today. We all kind of woke up with the mindset of, okay, let's get this 2013 class signed and let's roll in this 14 class. And what we did in 31 days was remarkable. Now we're going to have 365 days to do it, and I'm excited about it. We made a lot of inroads today with coaches and kids that I think will really start the fireworks.
Why were you able to make those inroads?
I think the class that we signed, I think some of the kids that jumped in the boat and had faith in this program, Coach Jones, our coaching staff, Tennessee, their faith in what we're going to do here showed some of these young guys in the 2014 class like, hey, these guys are for real. I think the word's out. We're doing it the right way, and we're going to continue to do it the right way.
I know you've been busy, but have you been able to kind of look into all the changes that are supposed to be coming down in recruiting and how it's basically going to be a free-for-all, and how is that going to change this 2014 class?
Well, it eliminated our vacation. That's number one. But it's going to change it a lot. I mean, as of August 1st, I mean, we get to contact these juniors. So us building a relationship now, getting them on the phone as fast as we can, because by August 1st, they're going to know kind of who they want to talk to and who they don't want to talk to, because their phones are going to be blowing up. We haven't sat down yet as a staff and mapped it out exactly, but we will. To have a plan on how we're going to attack August 1st. But from now until August 1st, to just constantly build this relationship, so when August 1st does hit, these kids already have an idea who they're going to be picking up the phone for, if that makes sense.
Coach Azzanni, what traits enable some freshman receivers to play earlier than others?
Mentality, maturity. Just probably every position is pretty much the same in that regard. Work ethic. How they can pick up the offense quick, how they can pick up the endurance of playing quick, their physicality. We're pretty lucky that the kids that we sign here are physically pretty darn close to being able to at least compete. Do they have to develop? Sure they do. But mentality and maturity really separate freshmen all around the country from playing or not playing.
Tom, you had to kind of go through this a couple years ago at Auburn, kind of coming in late, trying to put together a class in about a month or so. Just how did that compare to this and those two experiences? And you just talk about that, having been through it before.
I thought it was pretty intense. When we were at Auburn, our first year there, I think we ended up in the top 50. You really only got 31 days to run. And we call it being in the fourth quarter. It's like you're down 28-0, and you're trying to make a comeback with 5 minutes left on the clock. You need four quarters for this, and so I thought we ran as good as we could, and I see the same thing that we did at Auburn. At Auburn, we ended up falling short on a lot of kids, but in the next 3 years, we finished up in the top 10.
Are you encouraged? Do you take stock and maybe get in the mix with some guys and coming close in such a short time?
Yeah, no doubt. We got a great head coach, and he's a great closer. We just ran out of time. And I think next year when we got 365 days, as Zach said, it's going to make a difference. We got, first quarters right now when you're in the data mining process. You're finding all the kids, identifying where they're at, who's the decision makers. A lot of these things that, we had to find as we went along. But I think, with the intensity of the staff that we have, we'll be competitive year in and year out.
Tony, would it have made much difference? You're talking about the 31 days, how limited it was. if you'd had 41 days? And with a couple more weeks, do you think you might have turned somebody else, or would that have been in your?
At least you probably would have had a more of a pool of players left. You know, like I said, when you get in the end, the way it's set up now. Back when you and I were in high school, the process was set up where there were no cell phones, there was no social media, and I say that because, you know, back in the days when your phone rang, you had to be at home at that given time to make a relationship. So at 7 o'clock, if you weren't by that telephone, then you weren't really by that. If you didn't get a chance to talk to that coach once a week, it was hard to develop a relationship. So at the time, if you go back and you do the history on it, relationships weren't built back then. So whatever school was the hottest, that's where your kids usually went. If you was a Florida State, that was the most popular school. So you could flip a guy on signing day just because you're the more popular school. But now the way it's set up with television, with cell phones and you know, with Twitters and all this, the relationships are now built and they're pretty solid. So when you walk in there in the fourth quarter, when somebody's talked to that kid for 300 and some days, you're kind of behind and you're trying to climb the ladder as fast as you can, and eventually you just run out of time. So you need that 365 days, the way it's set up now, to get those relationships built.
Jim, you talk about the juggling act as an assistant when you are really deep in with a big-time prospect, you're like Derek Green, the best player in position in the country, and you're building that relationship for a year, and at the same time you have to, you know, in case that falls through, you have to keep somebody else in the line. How tough is it to stay in deep with the guy who, you know, has every option in the world, and also continue to evaluate and build a relationship with a guy who, I don't want to use the word fallback plan, but you know, that you may have room for if things don't work out? Is that one of the toughest things as an assistant coach?
Yeah, it's tough, and the key to it is you recruit all of them. You know, it's what we do. So that's the most important thing. You got to recruit all of them, so you're on the phone a lot. So, you know, and I think that's the key to it.
You guys did get a couple of surprises and big gets for the signing class, but Zach, more for you. Why do you think there's still some hesitation from the Von Bells of the world, the Carl Lawsons? What's the feedback you've gotten of why they can't pull the trigger yet on Tennessee, or did it?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if it's pulling the trigger on Tennessee as much as, like Coach Thigpen said, the relationships. I mean, it is what it is. Those guys had another year to build a relationship. They've talked to those kids every day for a year. We were trying to get them to jump in a pool blindfolded right now and just trust us in 3 weeks of building a relationship. So that's what it's about. It's about relationship building right now. Parents want to know their kids are going to be taken care of. Kids want to know where they're going to be developed the best and have a relationship with the coach that's coaching them the best, and also our players. Getting around our players, you know, more. They've been up to those places a number of times, and maybe our place not as many times. So, you know, it's about relationships. That's why we're going to do a good job with this next class.
Coach Thigpen, with your experience in this league, and particularly, you know, Georgia, the southern part of the SEC country, just how important is that the Atlanta area and on south to Tennessee, and you know, what do you think the long-term prospects of Tennessee being able to establish a foothold there?
No, I think it's tremendous. There's a tremendous task on making sure that we get those kind of kids. You know, driving from Atlanta to here was only, what, 3 hours at the most? So it's a straight shot. You go up 75 and you hop on 40 and you're here. So it's an easy task to get here. And when I was at North Carolina, I just remember that, you know, Tennessee was in Atlanta. I always thought those two schools were together. When I'd go through a school, so like Tucker High School and some of the other schools where Tennessee had a lot of great players, when Tennessee was in the school, I always thought that they would be the only team that could really compete with Georgia. I never saw Florida State, or Georgia Tech or Auburn being a factor when it came to recruiting the city of Atlanta. So, but back when I just remember the great players. If they didn't go to Georgia, usually Tennessee was the team they had to compete with.
Jay, when you were closed out last year's class, you were probably answering a lot of questions about the future of the coaching staff and all that. And in this setting, you were, and you know, had a short time to build some relationships. Was one of those kind of dynamics more difficult than the other in terms of the setting and you know, what you were recruiting in terms of the situation?
You mean the change in staff?
Yeah, I mean,
from this past year to this year?
Yeah, you know, two different kind of dynamics, and you know, you're trying to build a relationship quickly as opposed to last year when you're answering a lot of questions about the future and on the staff and all that. And that was one more difficult than the other, or how did those compare?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, when you come in with a new staff, you know, it's very difficult. Like we talked about with the time, having 31 days to get everything set up and get these guys to build relationships, the prospects to build relationships with us. So, you know, I would say this is a little bit more difficult.
Jay, it seemed as though running backs once cherished playing times and carries more than anything else. Now it seems like you have guys who are going to schools where they're stacked with running backs, Alabama being a prime example. Do you have a different pitch now to running backs? You know, you guys offered playing time and yet you only got one guy.
I think all running backs want the ball, you know, and I think that's important. They want to play early, and a lot of times they all feel like they still will play early. So, you know, that's the thing about a running back. They have confidence. They have confidence they can compete if you got 4 guys in a signing class or, you know, 5 guys. So, you know, that's the key to is just making sure they understand that this is the best place for them, the best opportunity. And we got a great tradition here at the running back position. So, you know, selling that tradition is very important.
What do you see in Jabbo Lee that you like?
I've known Jabbo for a long time, a couple of years here. And the thing that I know about Jabbo, he's very tough. He's a tough football player. He has the thing that we were looking for. We were looking for a young man with speed, and he can create explosive plays. And that's what he has. So he's over his high school career, I've watched him play a lot, and he's always produced. You know, he had some injuries his senior year. Nothing major, but, you know, I like his ability.
Anything else? Okay, guys, thank you very much.